So welcome to today's session, the theme of which is twists. So we're going to do some seated twists and then some standing twists or standing pose twists. So good for your digestive organs and organs of elimination, and just generally good for generating a bit of heat. I have a quote that I remembered the other day. It's pretty inspiring. It's from Desikachar, T.K. Desikachar, who was one of the pioneers of spreading the word of yoga and comes from the lineage of Krishnamacharya. And he wrote his interpretation of the Yoga Sutras. And I really like them because he was trained as an engineer. And so when he writes kind of like plain speak for lay people. And this is what he describes as the aim of yoga. Yoga is the ability to direct the mind exclusively towards an object and sustain that direction without any distractions. So I'd say that in today's society, we're very distracted by many things. And so that training through yoga, through meditation, is all important. We're going to do a breathing exercise, which is 3-part breathing. And that's another opportunity for you to practice being focused, concentrated, and undistracted. So the breathing practice can be done lying down or seated. And I think seated you'll be more alert. And the 3 parts are on an inhalation, incorporating the breath in the lowest part of your torso, your belly breath, and then your diaphragm, and continuous breath all the way up to the top of your chest. The exhalation's in reverse and goes from the top chest down to the diaphragm, down to the belly and the lower torso. So I find it really helpful to extend my breath, and then I'm more aware of it. But anytime that you extend your breath, you have to be careful that you're not stressing yourself. So let's begin, and you're going to be doing this, at your own breath rate, preferably. So let's begin with the inhalation. And then the exhalation is like emptying a vessel from the top to the bottom of your torso. And as you continue here, you can also picture the torso as a cylindrical shape, which it is for the most part, so that when you breathe in, you're breathing to the front of your body, the back of your body, and the sides of your body. And similarly, when you breathe out, you could think of the breath touching or caressing the inside of your torso, your ribs, your diaphragm, your belly. And as you go along here, you might discover the relationship with the breath and what happens in the pelvic floor. And sometimes what I do is practice lifting the pelvic floor on the inhalation and then releasing it on the exhalation. Let's go for 5 or 6 more rounds, and as I emphasized, at your own breath rate. Just check that your shoulders are relaxed and your facial features soft. And I hope that that breathing exercise has made us a little bit more focused in what we're going to be doing in the practice. And what you can do now is move on to your mat and take a lying down position on your back. Have a yoga strap next to you. And once you're lying down comfortably, just do a little bit of nuzzling the sacrum and the shoulders into the mat so that you feel well supported. And then bend your knees and have your feet on the floor close to your buttocks. We're going to extend the legs up towards the ceiling on an inhalation. And just hold at the backs of your knees as you extend the legs up. And then fold the legs down, thighs towards your chest on the exhalation. Inhalation, legs up. Exhalation, legs bent, knees towards you. And just do a few gentle movements like this, extension, flexion, so that the movement maybe feels for you like graceful and a gliding movement through your knees as you extend your legs. And then pause when your legs are straight up again. I'm holding just at the backs of my knees or just on the bottom thigh. Separate your feet a little bit, and just enough so that you can circle your feet. This feels so good for me, for my ankles. Just waking them up with extra circulation and then going the other way. Lovely. And then rest your feet back onto the floor behind your buttocks. And here's where we're going to take up the yoga strap. So keep the right foot left foot where it is on the floor behind your left buttock. Bend your right knee into your chest. Slip the belt onto your right foot. And extend that leg towards the ceiling again. When your leg is relatively straight like this, let's work through flexing the toes and the foot bones and the ankle. So pointing your toes up towards the ceiling and then drawing your toes down towards your knee. And alternate between those two potential movements, which we call dorsiflexion and plantarflexion. So make sure that you're not locking your knees in this position or locking the straight leg knee. There's a little softness behind your knee. That's lovely work. And then take up the belt just into your right hand, drop your left arm out to the left side, and then allow the right leg to go to the right, and then drop the left knee towards the left. So the left leg is still bent, but the right leg straight out towards the right side. And then switch on your core muscles and feel like what you're doing is you're turning the belly from right to left, like you're trying to turn your navel to face towards the left side. Good. Shoulders are down, chest muscles relaxed, and a light grip onto the belt. Bring that leg all the way up to the vertical and allow the left knee to drop towards the left side. Take up your belt into your left hand, swap over there, right arm out to the right side, and you've done a crossover at the top of your thighs. And then For me, what I experience is a big stretch on the IT band on the outside of my right leg and hip. And then all the way up again, straight up, and then pop the belt off. When you bring your right foot back to the floor alongside its mate, extend the legs out and take a moment here where you feel the work that you did in your right hip and right leg. And that is a passive feeling for the both legs. Let's start all over, setting up for the second side, and both feet behind your buttocks. Bend your left knee into your chest, and then catch your belt onto the left foot. And then we did this very lovely movement for your foot bones and your toe bones and your ankle. Toes up, toes down. And generally, my left leg and hip are a little bit tighter than the right hip. So I notice the difference on this side. Might even give it a little bit of extra work. Good. And then let's go into our stretch to the left side. Left hand holds the belt, right arm, drop it to the right, and then go left with the left leg. Your right leg's still bent, and you're going to drop the right knee out to the right. Good. This is where it's easy to tense the shoulders or tense your left hand. See if you can keep a softness there in both areas. And then let's go straight up again. And the right knee is going to drop to the left side. The left leg crosses in front. And if you switch your grip onto the belt, you'll find a little more ease in taking the left leg to the right side. I can feel that stretch from the outer left hip all the way to the outer left ankle. And then let's go bring that leg all the way up. And once you've taken the strap to the side, leave it to the side. Extend out both legs. And we'll do a little movement here. So with your feet together, your legs together, you point your toes away from you. Point your toes towards your knees. And then get that nice extension front of the legs, back of the legs, just through what you're doing by ankle flexion. And then you could play with the movement a little bit, and as though you're pumping your feet or wagging your feet forward and back. So there's a kind of a jiggle up through the backs of the legs, the buttocks, the spinal column, and all the way to the back of my head. If this seems like a really foreign movement and your body doesn't understand it, just jiggle a bit. It's a nice way to loosen up. Right, and then let's bend the legs and roll to the side. And now come all the way up to standing. And we'll just emphasize the Tadasana position, the basic pose that we keep coming back to in the standing poses. So take a standing position where your feet are a little bit apart. For me, what that feels like is that I've got a little bit more stability with my feet apart rather than all the way together. But you find your own way with that. And then leave your arms loose by your side. When I was first taught this pose, we were almost in a military stance. So my yoga teacher would have us straighten our elbows, straighten the backs of the knees with a kind of rigidity like our military posture. So see if in your stance, we just go into a little bit more relaxed way of doing Tadasana. Soften your elbows and soften a little bit behind your knees. Release your buttock muscles if they're very tight. And then get your ability to elongate your spine, dropping your shoulders and lengthening from your tailbone right up through the back of the neck and right through the crown of your head. Feel that your shoulders rest at the top of your skeleton, like a soft scarf, just resting at the top of your shoulders. Beautiful. And then we're going to do some roll downs. So let's separate your feet a little bit more so your feet are directly underneath your knees and underneath your pelvis. And the roll downs are done just by mainly yielding to gravity. So the first part is bringing your chin towards your chest and letting the weight of the head come forward. As you do that, the arms come a little bit forward and they're just dangling. And as you roll down, keep that softness behind your knees. And because we're taking a little bit of time like this, you might have done, like 2 or 3 breaths to get all the way in the flex position. And then begin to peel up, but keep the head forward and down, and the arms just dangling. Push into your footprints and come all the way up to standing, and your head's coming up very last. Good. Let's do a lateral version of that. So if you look to your right side and then take that roll down to the side instead of straight forward in whatever way works for you. But the main thing is the head is heavy and sort of guides you into the fullness of the stretch. After this exhalation, begin your retracing of your steps coming all the way up. And lastly, your head. And we've got one more side. And turning to your left side and keeping the arms very relaxed and your feet are firm and your ankles are firm. They're supporting you, but your knees are more relaxed. And dropping forward. Crown of your head at some point is pointing straight down towards the floor. And very slowly coming up. Take a couple of breaths to do that at the very least. And all the way up and facing straight forward. Lovely. And then just find that wall position that you've set up for yourself and come to stand at the wall. Your back is to the wall. And once you've got that support there, step your feet away from the wall and just have your buttocks resting on the wall. How far forward your feet? Oh, it's always, it depends. So you might be about 35 or 40 centimeters away from the wall. And then we'll do a slide down into a partial squat. Leave your hands onto the front of your thighs so that you can feel the quadriceps do their work and switch on. And how I picture them is that those collection of muscles draw up from your knee bones and into your pelvis. And while you're in your supported position at the wall, bring your head back a little bit so that you've got your good yoga posture again. And let's plan on doing this several times, so we won't hold the first one for too long. Straighten your legs and push up. And you might not have noted how much of an angle you had behind your knees. So pay attention to that this time. And if you can, come down to a right angle squat. So the right angle behind your lower legs and your upper legs. And then in that idea of switching the quadriceps on to work for you, draw all the way up into the hip fold. What will help is if you press the sacrum into the wall. Relax your shoulders. Good. And coming up again. And we've got one more here. Just working with the thigh muscles like this will be helpful when we do some standing poses. So last one. You're doing this according to the level of your ability and the strength of your leg muscles. So by all means, if you start to feel stressed, then come out a little bit earlier. We'll hold this one longer. And then you know where those muscles are. Just leave your arms by your side. That will help you relax your shoulders. So even though your top sacrum presses into the wall, lift your tailbone a little bit. I can feel just the beginning of a little shuddering in my legs. And all the way up again. Let's push away from the wall. And we'll take up some of those standing poses. So come onto your mat once more. And starting with Tadasana. Extend your arms downward. Draw your leg muscles upwards. So now you're aware just above your knee and all the way up to the bottom of your torso, those muscles holding. And we're going to step out into a wider stance for trikonasana, triangle pose. And then gauge your distance for your own stability and comfort, and turn your feet to the right side. Good. Extend your arms out sideways from your shoulders. And this is an opportunity to develop a little bit of, isometric, isotonic strength in your arms. So the muscle underneath the arm in this position, the triceps, press down through your palms so those muscles pull up into their bones. And then keep that tension on if you can as we extend the right arm to the right side, reaching out and extending, and right hand down and left arm up towards the ceiling. Beautiful. And then adjust the pelvis so the left thigh, the front of the left thigh and the front of the left hip are rotating inwards. And then lift your tailbone. And when I do that self-adjustment, I can go a little bit more deeply into the pose, but that's not absolutely necessary. And then inhale and come up. Keep that pressing down through the hands, almost as though you're pressing onto a glass tabletop, and turn your feet into center and turn your feet to the left side. Good. Hold it there for a moment. Switch on those quadriceps, the front thigh muscles. Press down through your hands and then reach out as much as you can to the left side as you tilt the torso over your left leg, and then take a hold of your left leg and right arm up towards the ceiling. Even here, if you keep pressing forward with your right hand, you're going to feel those arm muscles again. Feel your thigh muscles. And then adjust the pelvis so that the front of the right thigh and the right hip turning in slightly. And then inhale and come up. And turn your feet directly forward and step all the way in. Let's do a little work for your upper body here. with your feet slightly apart, that version of Tadasana. Interlock your fingers and turn your hands inside out. Give your knuckles a really good stretch here. And then extend the arms up towards the ceiling. That's a little different. Once you lift your arms, you might feel that the action is all done, but it's different feeling if you straighten your elbows. So straightening your elbows, pushing up through the center of your hands, the whole torso, the whole body long and lithe. And then lower your hands to chest height. Change the interlock. Re-stretch. Might feel different in this fashion. And all the way up. Good. And you might even, if it feels safe for your back, do a little back bend. So your arms back slightly behind the head. And the shoulder blades in towards the front of the chest. Good. Lower the arms. Good. And then give your fingers and your wrists a shake out. And we'll move into Warrior Two pose. So stepping out again. And we know this to be a bent leg position. Extend the arms out sideways from the shoulders. Turn the feet to the right side. And take a couple of knee bends. Right leg bends and straightens. And just warming up the knee joint. Like that. And then let's take it as a static pose and bend the knee and hold it there. And then have a look at where you landed. And the knee bone just above the ankle bone if possible. So for most of us, we have to drop down into that right hip a little bit more. Press down through your palms. Look over your right shoulder. Long line of your right arm. And then your left arm stretching away from your right. Good. Inhale and come up. Turn your feet directly forward. Turn your feet to the left. If at some point you need to rest your arms, just have your hands onto your hips. And then setting yourself up there for that gliding movement through your knee. And as you bend your knee, move the knee back a little bit towards the little toe side of your foot. Okay, and then let's hold the position. Drop into the left hip a little bit more and look over your shoulder. And pull yourself all the way up, straight left leg, feet to center, and step back to center, Tadasana. Good. Take a moment there, consolidate, feel your posture, your whole body. And for the next pose, you might need a yoga block. That can be helpful for parsvakonasana. And step out wide once more. The beginning of the pose looked much like the pose that you just did, Warrior Two pose. Turn your both feet to the right side. And in my use of the block, I'm going to have it on the outside of my right ankle on the high end. Good. And then re-stretch your arms out wide, press down through your palms, bend that right leg. We've already warmed up the knees, so we don't have to do that. And then hold that steady position. Feel your weight through your right heel. And then extend out over your right thigh. I'm going to reach my right hand down onto the block and the left arm up towards the ceiling. If you don't happen to have a block or you prefer to make this a smaller movement, you can leave your left hand onto your left hip and your right elbow just onto your right thigh. So that's the other option. Once you've determined that your raised arm is straight at the elbow, turn your left palm towards the right side, and then extend the left arm overhead. Looking side on, there's a straight diagonal line from your left fingertips to your left heel. Draw your shoulders back, and then in one movement we're coming up. Take your block with you. Inhale and up, and turn your feet the other way. With your block next to your left foot. Let's go step by step just to remember a few of those important adjustments. When your arms are wide to the side, press down through your palms. Bend your left leg. And then lead with your left arm and extend over your left leg as much as you can. And then bring your left hand down and right arm up. Pause there. Consolidate. We're not in a hurry. And turn your right palm to the left side and extend your arm in a reach out to the left side and at the same time back into your right foot. Release your shoulders back towards your waist. Can you lift up a little bit underneath your left ribs and turn your left ribs forward? Good. And one beautiful movement. Inhale and come up. And I've got my block. Just place your block in front of you and step all the way together. Tadasana. That's your base pose, your home base. Relax your shoulders. Now we're moving into the part of the session where we're going to use the wall space. So take a position, let's see. Let's go side on to the wall. And I've got my left side facing the wall. And there's a gap between my left hip and the wall. So about 2 widths of my hands. Step left foot forward and right foot back. And get your balance there. Then turn towards the wall and bring your both hands onto the wall just a little bit above shoulder height. And as I mentioned earlier, these are the twisting standing poses, and you've already put yourself into a very nice upright twist. So see if you can turn your shoulders, turn your rib cage, turn your diaphragm. And then let's add another movement here. Move your right hand out towards the right and slide it along the wall. And the farther out that you go, you bring yourself into a forward bend here, a partial forward bend over your left leg. So we're just doing this as a warm-up. We won't hold it. And bring yourself all the way up, vertical again. And the hands just apart from each other. And then we're going to switch and face to the other side, and right hip facing the wall. There's a little distance between the tops of my thighs, so my feet are not in a line like railroad cars. And then bring your hands onto the wall, and you've already begun your rotation. And allow that to turn your upper part of your back, your dorsothoracic, your lower ribs. And then let's take the extension through your left arm and move it out and reach it out and come a little bit further downward as you're reaching out. Your right hand on the wall, your right palm on the wall, press it a little bit, and then you can turn just that little bit more in towards the wall. Good. Inhale and come up. And let's go back to the first side with your block. So we're retracing our steps. We have left foot forward, right foot back. And place the block just in front of your left foot on the high end. And you've set yourself up now in the same fashion, 2 hands onto the wall. Begin to move your right hand out along the wall, slide it along, stretch it out, and then look down where you've placed your block. And the next step is bend your left elbow, push your left hand into the wall, and reach your right hand down onto the block. So your right hand supporting you underneath your right shoulder, your left hand onto the wall, press your hand into the wall, and turn from right to left. Take that rotation a little bit more deeply into your torso and turn your navel towards the left side. All right, and then looking down and making a graceful exit here. Flex your left knee, push into your left foot. Take your block with you. Inhale, come all the way up. And turn right round for the other side. All right, set your block up in front of your right foot. You know the pattern now. Turn your left foot in a little bit more so it faces more towards its mate. That way it will be easier to rotate your spine. 2 hands onto the wall. You're propped up there. Lengthen out. How much can you stretch out until you're almost parallel with the floor? And then looking down at where the block is, bend your right elbow, press your right hand into the wall, and reach your left hand down onto the top of the block. Once you're settled like that, then turn in towards the wall. You're looking towards the wall and pressing your right hand to help you turn. Turning from left to right. The right side moves away a little bit, the left side comes in. Beautiful, you've done good work. And then look down at your left hand, bend your right knee, push into your right footprint, release, and come all the way up. And turn back to center. And take a little breather in Tadasana. Relax your shoulders. Relax your belly muscles. Feel your breath. Once more, soft behind your knees. Lift your tailbone a little bit. And very good work. Let's take one more twisting standing pose. And this one is done from a lunge position. So I'm going to use the wall again and be left side facing the wall. So a lunge position, you're kneeling. Make sure that your knees are comfortable with this. I've got double mats on a carpet, so I've got a nice soft surface for my knees. So take good self-care here of your knees. So at the moment I'm kneeling up, and I'm going to step my right foot forward and create that lunge. Your left leg, the leg behind you, move your left foot a little bit further to the left. So that leg isn't crossing over to the right side. And then in your lunge, deepen the lunge and take the hips down a little bit further. I've got the wall next to me, so without any teetering side to side, I've got support there. And then turn towards the right leg. So you're turning away from the wall in towards the center of the room. Lift up your left arm and bring your left elbow over your right knee. Then join your hands in front of you. And when you've done that, lift the top elbow to open up that right side of your chest. And steady and breathing and looking to the right. And press a little bit more with your left elbow and turn your ribs. Lovely. Release from that posture. Turn back towards your right leg, and then let's switch sides, and it'll be right side facing the wall. So you're up kneeling and stepping left foot forward at a distance. If your left foot's a little further forward, then you can do a deep lunge. And left knee bends. And then we're ready. Right arm up, stretch it up, open up your right ribs, and then lean over your left leg and hook your elbow on the outside of your left knee. Join your hands in front of your chest. Lift that left elbow, looking in towards the center of the room, and you're breathing. How's your balance? That's why we're near to the wall in case of loss of balance. And let it all go. And that was such a good pose, and it was a little foreign to some of us, so let's do it all over again. And turn back to the original side. And right foot forward. Let's try a variation here where you're going to tuck the toes of the back foot under. So left foot, tuck the toes under. The same lunge, same deepening of the lunge. Bend your right knee and then bring that left arm up and over, an elbow on the outside of your right knee, and hands joined in front of your chest. Beautiful. Can you press your elbow and turn that little bit more left ribs to the right? Navel to the right. If you were disposed to taking the next challenge, you could work on straightening the back leg. So you'd be lifting the left knee off the floor. I'm not going to do that at the moment because it's very hard to talk and keep my balance in any case. But you might try that. All right, and then let it go and turning back towards the front leg and switch sides. One more side to go. The pose is called parivrtta, parsvakonasana. A big step forward with your left foot. Good, bring your right arm up and over, and once you have that grip on the outside of your knee, join your hands. You could do something more here. So the first challenge is to tuck the toes of the back foot under. And then the more that you can do is to lift the top elbow and bring the left shoulder back. And then see how you go. If you want to straighten the back leg, away you go. And then when we release from this pose, we're going to take child's pose. So stepping left leg back, and just where you are, near to the wall. Ease your buttocks back towards your heels. Ease your arms forward. And feel like you're just folding down to the floor and the whole body is yielding to the support there. And what you might do too is keep the arms forward, the elbows bent and a little bit nearer to you, and then fold your arms and rest your head onto your folded arms or onto your top hand. And if there was some effort, and it's likely that there was in what you were doing, then take a little time to let all that effort go out of your body. You might take some deeper breaths that are breaths like sighs, even if they're silent, like a silent sigh of letting go. So very good. We've done very good work. Come out of your child's pose and find a folded blanket to sit on, or even better, a bolster. And we're going to still be near to the wall. So let me set up here. My bolster what do you call that? At an angle to the wall. I'm going to sit on it and be propped up with a little bit of height. And let's see, when we were doing our standing twists, we started on the left side facing the wall. So let's do that. So left side facing the wall. You could even say that this was a version of the standing pose, but in a seated position. So from here, extend out your left leg parallel to the wall, parallel to the skirting board here. And how far am I from the wall? Like a wide hand's distance from the wall. Then I have relatively short arms, so I'm going to use a block behind me. But if you have longer arms, you can bring your right hand down to the floor in line with your back. I've got a little bit of height there. Then extend your right leg's bent, your right foot on the floor, and your heel right up against the bolster. Then extend the left arm up towards the ceiling, reach for the ceiling, and then cast that arm over your right leg and hook your elbow on the outside of your knee. So you can see the similarities to the seated twist and the standing twist. And then when you've done that, if I just wiggle that arm a little bit, I can bring my elbow down further towards the ankle. And then sitting upright again and allowing the twist to come into the diaphragm, the upper abs, and even the navel center turning to the right side and looking back. And tall through the spinal column. And then just because we can, look back towards the left side over your left shoulder. Good. Let it all go, unwind, and go the other way now. The other way being right leg straight out, left leg bent, the heel brought all the way into the bolster, and then making a good beginning and sitting upright, sitting tall, and then set my block up behind me. Stretch your right arm up towards the ceiling. Get all the length that you can through your rib cage on the right side, and then take that elbow over the outside of your left knee. I'm going to keep my forearm vertical here and press with my elbow. Now your back arm, your left arm, you could think of it as another spinal column, and it's going to help you straighten up. The more that you press your hand down, the more that you can straighten your back. And looking over your left shoulder, extending your right leg. Don't let it go to sleep here. Extend out through your heel. And then look back over your right shoulder, see what you can see there. Bring height into the top of your chest again. Beautiful work. And then let it all go. And we have one more seated twist to look forward to here. So let's go back so the left side is facing the wall. Earlier we did a wall squat, and that might have been preparation even for this squat. And I'm going to bring my heels up onto my bolster. And I've kept my distance the same pretty much as the previous twists that we did. And there's my block behind me. So I've got this twist with my heels supported. If I didn't have my support, then my buttocks would be almost on the floor. And I'm trying to lift up a little bit so that I'm not collapsing there. And then in the same way, extend your left arm up towards the ceiling. See if you can lean all the way across towards the right side and bring your left elbow to the outside of your right knee. The pose is called pasasana, and it's the noose pose. And it's kind of like you're, tying yourself in a noose position with the arm over the leg. Sometimes you have to really reach for the meaning of these Sanskrit names. And then my hand onto the back, onto the floor, onto the block, and turning little by little. Lift up, press your elbow, turn your ribs. And then release. And we have one more side to go in the twist component of this session. So take your extra support, lifting your heels up there. Knees are together, feet are close together. And then when you're ready, cast that right arm up and over to the left side. Hook your elbow, press your elbow, lift and turn. And chest up. And in the last part, your right hip is coming forward. Don't try to hold that back. Just let it come around. The right knee's in front of the left knee, and chest up. And then release, and back to center. And as I said, we're finished with the twist there, and finished using the wall. So come on to your mat and facing my way. And have a seat without any support underneath your buttocks. Bend your legs and have your feet on the floor and just slide them in a little bit more closely to you. When you've done that, take support from your hands holding your legs, or even better, wrap your arms around your legs as though you're hugging them. And then from here you might be able to step your feet in a little bit closer to you. Make sure you don't have the wall directly behind you in case you tip back. And then you might lift your heels and come onto your tippy toes. And what you're doing is you're balancing on your buttock bones. And that's a good start. Let's take a head bow. So bow your head towards your chest and feel your whole spinal column in flexion. And then bringing your feet back down. So your feet on the floor. Now separate your feet and bring your arms on the inside of your legs. So you're kind of in a froggy position. looking like a frog pose. And then lift your toes off the floor and see if you can grab hold of your big toes with your index finger and middle finger and your thumb on top. At this point, you could drag your heels in a little bit closer to you. And as before, you're balancing on your buttock bones. And then experiment with lifting your heels up a little, and then a little bit more. And in that controlled way of keeping your balance, extending the legs out little by little until they're relatively straight. And then maybe you could experiment with bringing your legs wider, almost like you're doing flying splits. And then keeping your balance without holding your breath. You're breathing and all the way bending your legs down and extending your legs out. Beautiful. Once your legs are extended in front of you, we've taken Dandasana pose. Separate your feet a little bit more. And it would work well for you to be up onto a support. Draw your buttocks away from your sitting bones. But we're not going to hold the pose, so you probably don't need to set that up. And from here, we're going to take one more balancing pose. And it's in a side-lying position. So if I lie in a straight line with my legs on my left side, my legs are straight, but my hips and my chest and my head all in the same line as my legs. So at this point, I'm balancing on my forearm, on my left forearm, my right hand in front of me. And that means that I've got quite a lot of control, so I won't tip forward or back. Lift up your chest. And if you want to take the next challenge, extend your left arm out along the floor, so your left arm extended like your legs are extended behind you. Then bend up your left elbow and lift up your left side of your chest and cradle your head into your left hand. So there's a really beautiful form that's used through Asia for Buddhas, and they're called the reclining Buddhas. And this pose is named Anatasana, which is the reclining Buddha. So from your somewhat awkward position, because you're working to keep your balance, then bend up your right leg, slide your right foot in towards your left thigh, and rest your right foot on your left thigh. If you were standing, this would be tree pose. And then let's see what it's like to extend up the right leg. And when that right leg is straightening and extending, you might experiment with lifting your right hand and holding your right leg. Make sure that your balance is very good and that you're still breathing. So you don't want to hold the pose by holding your breath. And then release that foot back to the lower leg, right foot onto your left thigh. Slide it out again. Roll across your belly for the second side so that you're resting on your right side. Or you could just turn around like I did. Now you know the pathway, so you can go straight into extending out your right arm, extending your legs behind you. Then you're propped up Your left hand is supporting you so you don't roll forward or back. And then as you're working on your balance there, bend your left leg, slide your left foot in so that your heel comes towards your upper right thigh. Then lift up your chest, cradle your head once more into your right hand. It's always challenging for me to be working on my balance, working on my voice, obviously, when I'm talking at the same time. So take it to the next step if you like, and extend up your left leg. And then if you're ready and you're willing, and releasing your hand so you can hold your left leg with your left hand and extend that leg. Good. And come back through those steps, and left foot, right thigh. Slide that leg out so you've got the left leg extended above the right. And then we're going to come all the way up to a seated position again. Bend your legs. And use your two hands to help yourself up to have a seat. And once more, extend the legs out in Dandasana. We're going to move into the yoga relaxation. And it's not always the case that you have all the props that will give you the most comfort. But if you happen to have two blankets, and I have yoga blankets here, and from the way that we usually present them, I've just folded them in half. So I've got this kind of square configuration of the yoga blankets, like that. I'm going to use them to lie on and rest my buttocks onto the top of the blankets. If you have something to cover your eyes, that's always a nice thing. So when I use the stacked blankets like this, I'm coming up to support my buttocks on the blankets with a little lift like that, but my head, my shoulders, and my upper part of my spine are on the floor. Keeping my legs bent and feet on the floor, and my arms are just above the level of the blankets. So when you've placed yourself like this, do a little wriggling or moving around until you feel like your buttocks are well supported. And for many people, what that means is you have to move back away from the edge of the blankets so that your sacrum is supported as well as the rest of the pelvis. And then with your feet just a little bit apart, find the way that your legs can relax in the bent leg position, and maybe the knees resting towards each other. When you were a little kid, you used to stack up playing cards where they'd make a pyramid shape and the top edge would be resting against the other card. So feel like that, and then let all the energy go out of your legs and thighs. So from the inner knees down into the pelvis, the groins relax more. Allow your belly muscles to sink back into the pelvis. And if your shoulders are elevated or they tensed up while you were getting into position, then do what you can to draw the shoulders down, the shoulder blades down. And then once you've done that, then completely release them. Your arms are supported through the elbows and the upper arms into the shoulder joint. And then finally, and very importantly, relax your facial features. So from your hairline to your eyebrows, the forehead is unfurrowed. There's a space between the brows. And the eyelids are just drawn down very softly, like a soft curtain, a soft blind, drawing down to the eyelashes. To your cheekbones. Go on and let your jaw slacken back slightly. Feel your lips full and soft and lightly resting against one another. Feel the backs of the ears dropping towards the floor. And then lastly, your eyes dropping down to look into the heart center. Know that here, there's nothing expected of you. Even any of those expectations that we have of ourselves. Just let go. We'll take another minute or two here, and then in the last part of this timing, if you have started planning or premeditating or thinking about what's next, pull yourself back into the moment and be with your breath in the same way that we started the session. Now beginning to feel into your whole body, that global sense of your body, your whole body. Now to release from your elevated position, press your feet, lift your bottom, and pull those blankets off to the side so that you're lying with your back flat. And give a moment for the back to settle into the floor. And then with no rush whatsoever, take your own sweet time and come up to a seated position so that we can finish the session sitting together. I've got my stack of blankets to sit on for comfort. And then in that traditional way that we finish the yoga classes, bring your hands up and place them center chest. If you like, cast your gaze down or close your eyes. Feel where the hands rest in front of the heart center, that it's your opportunity here to elevate your heart. Lift your elbows a little bit so the chest is open. Incline your head slightly towards your heart. Head, the servant of your heart. And the sign represents respect for yourself. And from that respect, extending it out to everyone. We say namaste. And thank you.